We're going to get onto the Ten Hag conversation now because, as we know, the briefing came out just before the game against Liverpool where he's being backed and they've got a long-term plan with him and they like him and have enjoyed working with him so far. And it was like a vote of confidence as an example, which I think whether he won or not at the weekend, you would always expect a football club to talk like that. But obviously, the reaction from Ten Hag at the weekend in terms of the way he was talking to the journalists afterwards, the whole thing seemed like he felt very much on edge as an example. You look at his up and coming games. I put them on the screen now. Southampton away, Barnsley at home, which should be a win. Away to Palace is a tough game. Then we start the Europa League. Then we play Tottenham. Then we're away to Porto, away to Villa, and then at home to Brentford. The Brentford game comes after the next international break. But if you look at the 7 games between the international breaks, there's some tough away fixtures, congestion, rotation that's needed. I was pretty happy personally with the start to our season in terms of I saw some positive signs, but we reverted to type. The holes in the midfield were seen glaring at the weekend, and we got teared apart because of it. And the manager has essentially said, no, there's no issues with the system. There was no issues with the tactic. It's just individual mistakes within those tactics. And I think all of us can see, yes, there was mistakes, but those mistakes were punished because of the way the team is set up, because of the space that's afforded to people. And I personally don't believe the full extent of the brief from Man United that they're 100% behind him for the long term. And I think over these next 7 games, if he doesn't start winning and the team doesn't start performing better, I personally believe he could be very quickly on his way out of Manchester United.
I actually think personally, this new structure that's come in place that we've been bigging up and going, oh, this could work. I think it's been a bit of a letdown so far, if I'm honest with you. I mean, we are talking about now a team that is basically Ten Hag's players that he's even known from his Ajax days, like his old boy De Ligt that he's brought in now, Anthony, Lissandro Martinez, the lists now go on. We've got Joshua Zirkzee, who I think looks... I don't think he looks good enough at all. I mean, Big Steve was calling him Tom Huddleston last night. He looks terrible. I mean, I don't really understand what's going on with this style of play thing. This is mad for me. 3 seasons now. And the reason I'm saying that INEOS and this new structure need to look at it is because they should never have kept him in the first place. I understand that he won the FA Cup. I totally get that. And I appreciate that he's got 2 trophies in 2 years. But the league form suggests that you were never going to improve with him because there's no style of play. And he absolutely is clueless when it comes to tactics or substitutions. So for me, as much as I think that the players you've brought in should definitely be an upgrade on what has happened, I've seen nothing new from what I've seen from Manchester United against Fulham again and against Brighton and now against Liverpool. They got hammered by Liverpool. Brighton beat them, in my opinion, deservedly through bad defending. And against Fulham, they got lucky when Zirkzee come on and hit it on his shin and went in. So for me, I am so disappointed by what I've seen so far. But then I look at it and I think, what are they supposed to do? Like, this is the start of it. This is the first window that they're giving this guy at Ten Hag time and backing now. They kind of deserve it because this guy's not good enough, mate. So that's why I look at it. So I don't know where you're at with it. I personally feel it's poor.
Well, I get what you're saying. When we say you shouldn't have stuck with him, listen, it wasn't my choice. I thought he should have gone, as everybody said. I said I'm going to objectively get behind it, and I still hope that it works. But I went and did a bit of research yesterday just to see. When Chelsea's takeover happened, when City's takeover happened, when Liverpool's FSG takeover happened, they all stuck with their respective manager from periods of between sort of 5 months to just over a year. So it isn't unheard of. In fact, with the top clubs in England, it's pretty consistent that you stick with the current manager for a period of time. There's also a train of thought that there's still a lot of players in the squad that rate the manager, like the manager, got a good relationship. And although you want to see change instantly, you want to get back to the top straight away, life doesn't always work like that. Sometimes you have to give players and or managers a little bit of rope to hang themselves with, metaphorically speaking. Okay, well, you've said that you need a structure. You said that you need help. You said you need less chaos. The manager's admitted that's all there. We now expect you to take our feedback, coach a team, and make it perform. And if he doesn't do that, there is no... And I've seen a lot of people that have been Ten Hag in the whole of last season. He needs a structure, he needs help. Suddenly goes almost to, I'm losing faith. And that's because they've seen in the first 3 games there hasn't been enough improvement. The scary thing is that Slot spoke about the changes. There have been changes in how we play. Slot spoke about them quite, not glowingly, but broke down the differences. And I'm sitting there listening to Slot going, yeah, I noticed that. I noticed this. I noticed that. Problem is, as soon as the pressure got on top, Ten Hag and his team reverted to all the same issues as last year. And for me, that's a managerial problem. I think, hate him or loathe him, Rashford's problem is he's not playing with any confidence. I don't think he likes the system or the tactics, but he's being made to play it. Casemiro shouldn't have done it, but him and his missus have briefed the media and said, we just don't like how we play. We feel exposed. This isn't what I'm particularly good at doing. And I think the team lacks genuine confidence. There's a reason why Maswari has looked like our best player since the start of the season, because he's come in not jaded and worried and concerned by the football club. He's come in good form from Bayern Munich as an example. But eventually he is going to regress if this continues as well, like every other single player. I do agree with you. I saw Xerxes in the first half against Liverpool, and he does not look ready for Premier League football. Having said that, I quite liked his hold-up play and build-up play and his 2 substitute appearances in the previous 2 games. So it's about getting that balance right. But from my perspective, a few people are saying in the comments, I'm assuming that he might lose his job. I'm giving an opinion. I'm not assuming. I just look at it now. I've got a very different outlook against Man United now compared to all the other years. We have a club structure. We have genuine football decision makers at the club. We're not building the club in the image of a said manager. We're trying to. We want a certain type of player. We want to play a certain type of football. So for me, the manager, if the head coach, the manager, isn't doing a good enough job, you take him out and replace him. It's for me. You've seen Liverpool and Brighton situations were different. But look how well Slot, look how well, I forget the new guy at Brighton's name, I always forget it. But look how well they've done. And that is because those clubs have set up structures in a way where no matter how good the head coach is, it's a plug and play system. He's a head coach. He has a say on signings and he gets involved in all that element, but it's your job is to coach the first team and pick it. Your job isn't to run the recruitment, run the scouting, run the academy, negotiate the contracts. The head coaches don't do that. Pep don't do it at City. We've heard him say it in press conferences. He relies on other people to do it. So whether a manager has been highly successful and quits, or whether a manager is sacked for failing, when you have this club structure, you can do what Bayern Munich have done. Start the season poorly, sack a manager, and then suddenly become a great team in that same campaign. So for me, I'm now looking at the board. I'm now looking at the manager and saying, in my view, you've got 3 or 4 more games to stop the holes in the midfield, get us scoring more goals, and to stop these mistakes and make us play more fluently together. Otherwise, you should go, because it shouldn't take you that long, considering you've also been here 2 years. You should be able, if you're doing a good enough job, if the players believe in you, and if you understand the directive you've got from your bosses, you should be able to make us play better and score more goals than we have done in these first 3 games. So for me,
who did you?
Somewhat.
Sorry, Tom. Who did you agree with, Jamie Carragher or Gary Neville? Because I was bang on with Jamie Carragher.
Carragher, no, but bro, just to quickly interrupt you, yeah. As a United fan, you can't listen to Neville because and I'm being deadly serious, yeah. You're saying nothing against Gary Neville, but you can't listen to him as a United fan because he's saying it from an emotional sort of position. I also think he might be involved in this regeneration. So he can't.
When you guys say who's right and wrong, what comments are you talking about specifically?
When they said they bottled getting rid of him in the summer, which I think they did, and then Neville said they didn't do that. It's because they couldn't find the one they wanted, so they bit with it. But then it's like, well, you've just admitted that they wanted to sack him, so you're now keeping the manager you were thinking of sacking, bringing in Van Nistelrooy, who we all know is probably going to be the next Man United manager, if not interim for a bit.
I agree. I don't agree with Gary Neville in its entirety, but I'm going to be open-minded about this. There is a train of thought to say the 5 or 6 people we've interviewed, because you got to remember it's who's interested in us. So there was a number of managers that showed no interest in us. So if you interview 5 people that want the job, and at the end of that interview process, you go, fucking hell, they're worse than Ten Hag, I can understand keeping Ten Hag for a period of time, because what is the point of going through the expense of sacking a manager and hiring someone who you think's only as good or worse, as an example? Equally, you've got that element of, well, let's stick with the manager. We think it's going to be best for the squad for the short term. If he does a bad job, we'll quickly bring somebody. And that's what a lot of people think. That was a lot of Man United fans' opinion. So I kind of get Gary Neville to a certain extent. But at the same time, I have to agree with Jamie Carragher, because my belief was, I think the rebuild's quicker by hiring a new manager straight away. And this
yeah.
is the thing. I believe in the rebuild. I believe that INEOS will get us back to a point of challenging. However, what I'm not naive about is they will make mistakes in this. They're going to sign some duds.
Of course.
They may make a managerial. It could, again, we don't know what we don't know until the future comes along. You know, if suddenly Rude takes over next month and we go on to have a barnstorming season, next year we challenge, a year after we win the league, maybe that little small transitional period of doing it slowly will make sense to us when we look back, right? It might come out in stories. But the only mistake I really do think INEOS have made so far, and I thought it was a mistake at the time, and with the way we performed against Liverpool, I've just given me this horrible gut feeling that sticking with the manager is not going to work out as I thought it would. However, you can rectify that in the next 4 or 5 games. If we don't improve, I don't think it matters. I don't think you can be delusional enough to think it will be okay in 3 months. I understand Arteta started slowly and it took him time to get his team playing, but a very, very, very different scenario. That was a fledgling manager in his first job, not somebody a decade into their career who's already been at your club a couple of years. And where people get confused by what I say is that a rebuild is 4 games old, including the Community Shield. But the judgment of Ten Hag isn't, because we've seen a lot of him already. The same as I'll give a lot of our new signings a couple of years at the club. Barada standard is out, and I think it's cool. You give people a bit of time to settle. I'm not giving Rashford that long to get back to his best, because I've seen enough of him already. And the problem is with a lot of Man United fans, and I think there are Man United fans collectively, we're a big problem towards our club. And I say we because I'm not ring fencing myself. I've seen people bringing up Ollie's clips recently. We should have stuck with him. He knew what he was doing. Ragnick, some people defending the Glazers. Oh, I can't believe the Glazers bought us in INEOS. They're no different. They've kept Ten Hag. That means we're never going to get better. The stuff we're talking about is crazy. You've got people like, it's unbelievable. So Jim told us this was 3 to 4 years to get us back anywhere near the top teams in the world. What we're going through, I hoped it wouldn't happen, but there was always the possibility that it could. But I'd much rather it happen now. And you get rid of him, you bring somebody else in, rather than you start well for 3 or 4 months, then it collapses. Then it collapses, then it goes away. So I think Man United fans have just got to be honest, right? We have a structure in place now where we can take a manager out and bring somebody new in, and the rebuild continues. It's like with Chelsea. Chelsea are not the beginning of a new rebuild. This is the beginning of their 3rd season of the rebuild. It's just a new manager. They're keeping the same profile of player. They're trying to do the same thing. They just brought in a new head coach. That's not another rebuild. And I think that Man United fans have got to wake up and smell that coffee. We're not going to sack him and start again. Oh no, the new manager's going to want to get rid of all the new players that we've signed.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
because,
no.